Welcome to the Bring Us Back movement, bringing back common sense to the American people. Although I think more importantly now than ever would be bringing common sense back to the American millennial. You know, if you talk to your parents, you talk to your grandparents, you talk to a neighbor, they will tell you that when they were growing up, they had to work two jobs and go to school. Granted, it was more affordable, but they put the time and they put the work in to succeed, and it was a lot more work than any millennial puts in nowadays. Now, granted, there's a lot of studies that say statistically there's more stress on a millennial nowadays than there was back then, but there was also a lot less hard work being put in nowadays. And so what you have is from propaganda in the media and from a corrupt school system from Washington on out, controlling the minds of these children. Think about that. Think about safe zones. Think about not being allowed to say the word man at Princeton University because it could offend transgender people. Do you see how soft we are making the mind of our children? These are not the men that fought and died in World War II. 19-year-old kids that fought and slayed and killed Nazis for this country. These are kids that when you handle one insult, you have to run into a safe zone. Men nowadays are becoming more feminine. Their hair's growing out. Their pants are getting tighter. Say what you want, that's fine. Say I'm slamming them. Say I am demasculizing them. They're demasculizing themselves. And it's a sad thing to see what's happening in this country. You know, you may think it's crazy and you may think I'm getting really far out there with this, but I'm sorry, you have to start somewhere in rebuilding this country, and it has to start with the lying propaganda that is pushed to these kids. Think about it. I have a Snapchat. I'm 22 years old. I see on Snapchat they try to force your opinion to dislike Trump. They have a little section that is titled the 2016 election. And what they do is they take sections out of Trump's speech where he says something that may normally seem outlandish for someone to say standing alone by itself. And then they cut to Hillary Clinton slamming him for what he said, when in actuality they don't play the whole clip and see the subject that he was talking about. It's propaganda, from politics to how to view social issues to having white kids be tolerant of racism. I'm sorry, people can say what they want, but there's a large amount of racism being put towards white people in this country, especially young white men. I've dealt with it. I lived through it in high school. I've been called white boy cracker. Just because I was white, I wasn't cool with anybody on the football team. Kids are dealing with this nowadays. It's realistic. But white kids especially are being taught to be tolerant of this. Everyone wants to claim racism, but they don't want to look at both sides. There's a propaganda tool moving out there in the media, and it's especially affecting millennials. All right, let's switch topics here. One of the top stories on Drudge this morning I'm looking at here. The media uses kid gloves with Chelsea Clinton. Well, let's think about that for a sec. Kid gloves with Chelsea Clinton, as opposed to who? Well, the opposite side, Donald Trump's children. Correct? You see Trump and his children being slammed for everything and anything under the sun. They ask Don Jr., they ask Eric, they ask Ivanka questions about their dad being a sexist and if it's true and how he treats women and is he a good businessman. You see this stuff quite regularly throughout this presidential campaign. In fact, you see it routinely. But I want to put something into perspective for you. We know Donald Trump is a masculine man. We know he's a macho man. We know he's a man who has talked about women's breasts before, who has talked about women and their weight, like most men do, for you softies that don't want to accept the truth. Where are these questions being directed to Chelsea Clinton? I mean, after all, her father is one of the biggest abusers of women in political history. And in national history, let's say, for a man of his stature and his presence to have gone on so long without being convicted of a single sexual crime is despicable. But it's expected. So my question to the media is, why can't you direct these questions to Chelsea Clinton? Why has no one asked her how her dad treats women? Or how the family felt after her dad admitted to having a sexual affair with Monica Lewinsky, or the countless women that he's done terrible things to. Why is no one asking this to Chelsea Clinton? Why are they so soft on her? Is it because they're afraid to offend her? She's a grown woman. I think she can handle the truth. She knows the truth. She's been in this family her whole entire life. She knows what her dad's about. Why can't they ask her these questions? Why can't they do it? It's a good point being brought up on Drudge. You know, I got to tell you, this storm that is hitting Florida apparently right now looks absolutely terrible. So our thoughts and prayers go out with the people in Florida. But it looks like this is going to be a pretty good one. All right, let's see what else is on the top of the news today. Well, of course, breaking news. They're live on another Trump rally. You know, that's one thing I want to jump on today. Why is it that every single headline on Fox, or any news channel for that matter, but especially Fox, says, alert, alert, breaking news? They could have a pigeon sighting in Central Park, and it would say, Fox, breaking news, pigeon has been sighted taking a dump on pedestrian. They take the smallest and the most ridiculous stories and they throw alert, breaking news. What happened to the days when a train car blew up and it said breaking news, train car blows up? They still do that today, but my point is they exaggerate every single story as breaking news. It's kind of annoying, actually. Breaking. Second presidential debate on Sunday. We all know this. We all know this. Why is this breaking news? I'm so disgusted with the media nowadays. Watching Fox Live here. You know what? Let's go ahead and switch to CNN and see what Jake Zapper and Mulf Splitzer, or whatever their names are reporting about. Once again, nothing worthwhile. You see, these people are absolutely ridiculous. $718 billion in tax revenue. Is this what they're saying that Trump? Yes, they're saying that Trump lived lavishly despite $960 million loss. I wonder why that could be. Let's think about that for a sec. Oh yeah, right, the man's a freaking billionaire. Jesus Christ. Do you know how many taxes this man has to pay? Let's talk about the federal tax thing for a minute. Let's bring that up since they want to bring it up here. All right. As a businessman, you have to pay state taxes. You have to pay local taxes. You have to pay city tax. You have to pay taxes on your product, on your employees. The fact that he didn't pay federal tax, is that really a big deal to everyone? I mean, seriously. Because the amount that he would pay in federal tax would just go to some social program anyway to feed some junkie sitting on their couch that can't get a real job. So the fact that he didn't pay federal taxes and he used that money that he could have paid in federal taxes on his company to create jobs for the community isn't that big of a deal to me. We really need to think about what we're talking about here. Eric Trump, my father absolutely pays income taxes. Of course he pays income taxes. Are you kidding me? The fact that he may or may not have paid federal income tax for 15 years is not a big deal. He was creating jobs, he was building infrastructure, he was doing things to improve the communities around him. So I'm sorry, if he wants to put his money into that instead of put it into the hands of the corrupt government, big deal. You say what you want. Hillary Clinton came out in the debate and said that that means no money for troops or for veterans or for things of this nature. Let's not get started about her with veterans, because she's part of the corrupt system put in place by Obama and many other politicians before him in the corrupt VA that will not get these people help. Trump donates to veterans. Trump has held rallies to benefit veterans when he could have been on the debate stage, raising almost $6 million. So let's not talk about his federal taxes not making money for veterans. That's absolutely ridiculous. The way she tries to paint him as a sick and selfish businessman is just beyond me. Think about it. Realize where the money's going. The money's going to build skyscrapers, to construction workers that are building his infrastructure, to the people that are going to be working in his hotels, to improving the roads around his hotels in the city areas where he's building. You people cannot be that stupid. He doesn't pay federal taxes for possibly 15 years. Big deal. He loses $916 or whatever billion dollars in the 90s. And he's still worth $10 billion. That's just insane to me. The fact that the man continues to take risks, continues to invest. He loses here and there, but he's always come out on top. It's because he knows what he's doing. He's an intelligent businessman. And nothing less. And nothing less whatsoever. It's ridiculous that people want to paint him as a sick and selfish man. Go look up any story about Trump from the 80s or the 90s or even present day. Look up the story about the flagpole at Mar-a-Lago. Look that story up and tell me he's selfish. Look up Trump helps farmers in Georgia. Look that up. Look up anything you want. And I guarantee you there will be positive stories popping up. This is not a selfish man. This is an honorable and well-liked man who has been miscast by media, by pundits, by the George Soros-owned Black Lives Matter and MoveOn.org. It's insane to me, the people that we choose to vilify in this day and age. I mean, take Hillary Clinton, for example. She is a woman who, say what you want about the cutting of the defense funds, was not there when her ambassadors needed her. I'm sorry, but if they claim that it is a safety threat to be in an area and they need more security, if you do not have the funds, you pull them. You pull them from the project. You don't just turn your shoulder to it and think it's no big deal and then let them stay there and continue doing what they're doing, because ultimately, look where that got them. You have 4 dead Americans and 1 dead ambassador. Or how about 33,000 emails she deleted after a congressional subpoena was issued? That's breaking federal law. Deleting the emails in the first place is breaking federal law. But after you delete them, after getting a congressional subpoena, that's federal law. And you're telling me there's nothing to hide there? And her pundits go out and say that she's an honorable woman who just made a mistake? How can you just make a mistake? That is deliberate. You did not accidentally hit delete all and delete 33,000 emails. It's entirely impossible, especially when the way you deleted them was by using the deleting service called BleachBit. You cannot sit here today and tell me that a woman who dedicates herself to, quote, public service, end quote, and runs into all these different scandals, Whitewater, you name it, is the person we shouldn't be vilifying. And we should be vilifying Trump. I mean, think about what they're saying. A man who has opened a multi-billion-dollar industry that creates jobs, that's the man we want for president. Alrighty, just letting you know, we are here at Bring Us Back, liberating Americans from liberals and conserving America with conservatism. Thank you very much, and thanks for tuning in.